All right. I'm going to do something for the first time today and just seeing if it helps us understand these difficult concepts of trunk rotators with the cap and bottle and stuff, right? This is not easy, but maybe this might help us ride the bicycle a little better, okay? So we have sets of oblique muscles, specifically externals and internals. You're not accountable for the test. We're going to learn this in 415, but this might help us see when we do the pelvic about the trunk better. Because I think it's easy to see linear muscles on each strings that pull this way, this way. When we get into a muscle on the right side of my belly button, working with a muscle on the left side of my belly button to create the same spin pull, it's a little different than biceps and triceps. Okay? So let's start off by asking the simple question. Does anybody know who Chewbacca is? Like Chewbacca? So yeah, Chewbacca, like, he wore like a belt. I think that's all he wore, but just so he had like a belt that went across his shoulder. Chewbacca's belt, it kind of went at an angle, right? And so that's kind of how our obliques work, where if you tied, I don't have, oh, I do have a roof. I always have very expensive, fancy props. Hashtag Kindle. So guys, we got to use a little imagination sometimes, right? If I tied a rope around my right shoulder and I ran it like Chewbacca's belt across, it makes sense that it looks like it's moving and it is. Smaller pieces typically move about big pieces. That if I had an angle this way, it would want to pull my right arm to my left hip. And in doing so would be a left transverse rotation puller. Does that make sense? We have muscles that act like Chewbacca's belt. Our right external oblique runs at this angle. It'd be pulling on the right side. And it uses that the white inscriptions that you see in the photos in the musculature is kind of like a cross-sectional pulley to transfer force from the right side to the left side, because we don't crisscross applesauce anything from the middle. But we can transfer forces through this white aponeurosis tendinous inscription that we call it. So in other words, right external obliques and left internal obliques have the same angle pull at the trunk. Like they have the same across. So in other words, the left internal would be like the bottom of Chewbacca's belt, and the right external would be like the top of Chewbacca's belt. Does that make sense? So when it looks like it's moving, and it is, we have muscles that pull across, left transverse and right transverse pullers. These would be left transverse trunk rotation pullers, and these would be right. So when we do like the cable exercise, these would be the primary. There's some in the back, but again, we'll get to that in biomechanics. I just want you to see that we have crisscross applesauce muscles that are pulling in these transverse directions of motion. Those are the easy ones to see, but we need to look at these landmarks, in my opinion, to better understand the pelvic girdle rotations. So in other words, practically speaking, landmark-wise, my left transverse trunk rotation pullers are really just trying to bring my right side of my upper body and pull it in a direction to the left side of my pelvis. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, that's how these muscles are running. Hey, come visit me over here transversely. Almost kind of like radial ulnar joint stuff, except just one side. Hey, right side, come visit the left side of my leg. Hey, left side of my trunk, come visit the right side of my leg. Does that make sense? So when we talk about these muscles pulling traditionally, it makes sense that this would typically be fixed and this would typically be moving. But the same muscles that can bring this over to this side, this can stay fixed and bring the left leg over to the right the arm. Does that make sense? I'll give you an example. The same muscles that are pulling like this also pull like this, because I get to the same place. But instead of anchoring on the left hip, I'm using left hip generically to make a point. Instead of anchoring here and moving the right arm to the left hip, I'm anchoring here and moving left hip to right arm. But I'm getting to the same place. The same change. So when we're talking about doing pelvic girdle rotations because of trunk motions, these are the muscles we're talking about. But the upper part, the rib part, are fixed. And they're moving the pelvis about the ribs. So instead of moving arms to hips, we're moving hips to arms. It is very similar to when we did the glute ham raise, hamstring curls, glute ham raise, same muscles. But traditionally, this is fixed and I move this. But you can't do it where that's fixed and I move all of that. Okay? Once again, I have a bunch of examples for us to practice. But before, just want to remind you that even though we can talk about our brains easily see the pelvic girdle rotations, and that's good, but we don't have pelvic girdle rotation muscles because those muscles could be hip muscles. They could be trunk muscles. So those would be different muscles. My elbow flexors are the same muscles every time. My wrist extensors are the same muscles every time. So even though we can see pelvic girdle rotation, we have to ask ourselves, what motion, what is the external force doing to our trunk? And then we can make it about trunk muscles. What's the external forces doing to my hips? And then we can make it about hip muscles. So we can see pelvic girdle rotation, that's not a problem. But when it comes to analyzing agonists, it has to be what joints move the basketball. Basketball can't spin itself. So all we're doing is saying, what spun the basketball? I want to focus on those muscles. Okay, let's do some practice. Grace, we got a lot of practice today. So let's you and I both be prepared to, if we need to, while we're giving them time. Let's warm up with, it looks like it's moving and it is. Okay? If you can't see the front, look on the side and let's pay attention to landmarks. Now it's not a ton of motion, but pelvis is looking to that side of class, sternum's looking towards the middle. So I know he's twisted. It may not be all the way, but there's deviation there transversely. And then here, they're more in alignment. Does that make sense? Pelvis and sternum are now facing you guys. Not if this makes sense, because I look silly right now. This is where he started. This is where he ended. Okay, so let's warm up with a easier one. It looks like it's moving, and it is. Traditional trunk rotation through trunk rotation fullers, external forces, internal forces, and let's do contraction type. And then we'll get to the pelvis stuff, okay? Again, while y'all are thinking, I am not saying that when you're working with Mrs. Boudreau in the clinic, you can't say, well, we're working your core muscle. I have no problem with that. But unlike Ms. Boudreau, we need to know specifically what muscles we're working and through what type of contraction. Because there may be times that muscles are indicated to be integrated or not functionally indicated to be integrated. That's vague. Contraindicated to be indicated. Contraindicated is the indicated. Unique New York was another good one. I thought of that. Unique New York. Unique New York. Unique New York. All right, guys, I want to get through a lot of examples, so this one shouldn't have taken us too much time. The cable is trying to twist him how? To his good. I do elimination. If the cable's trying to twist him to his right, I wouldn't need muscles that are trying to twist me to the right. I don't need these right external, left in, right internal, left external. I don't need Chewbacca to run his belt like this. I need those. We have a name for those. We call those the left transverse trunk rotation pullers. I'm going to teach you who those muscles are. The motion that I saw was left transverse trunk rotation. So that had to be through concentrics. If we went back the other way, same muscles, because the external force didn't change. I'm going to say something and I'll repeat it. For exercises, especially ones that are, what's our keywords, slow and controlled, same external forces, same agonist throughout the whole exercise. The variations in motion, the changes in motion, isn't because of different muscles. It's because of different contractions. That's the magic. Same external forces, same agonist. The variations in the motion is through variations in contraction type. So going back would be eccentric, but we could explain it. Like, in other words, if you were, let's say you were taking another class and you identified muscle agonist and contraction, and they asked you, well, how do you know that? That was a good question from last week. How would you explain that? And that's what I'm hoping we do. And you're like, well, the cable's trying to take you to the right. I need muscles that pull to the left, and those same muscles that are pulling to my left are going to let me go back to the right while still pulling to the left. That's a little weird. That's what eccentrics are. That I can be using things that pull in one direction to let motion happen in the other. Okay. Do we feel comfortable with these examples? Hopefully we should before we go on to the crazy one. All right, let's get crazy. Let's start off with isometrics. Guys, there's a reason her hands are pushing on the ground. That's her anchor, right? If she lifted her hands up, I'd fall over. Now, I'm not saying she would, but that's her anchor that's allowing that happen bottle effect to happen. Instead of bringing arms to hips, she's influencing hips to arms. In my opinion, it's just my humble Delcom opinion, this is really, really hard to see unless we have a process. And if I've had, as many times I've had students come into my office and say, I don't understand this example, I don't have an answer until I do my process so that I could figure out who's working. So we do the same exact thing. What is gravity? Most of her force is to her left side of her body. And I'm not dismissing that gravity is also trying to work sagittally, but let's just keep it to transversely, because that to me is the hardest thing to see. So transversely, what would gravity be trying to cause at the trunk? That's a thing for you to figure out. I do process of elimination to identify my agonist. So let's say this was a test question. I would say right transverse trunk rotators, left transverse trunk rotators. Then I would do some tricky stuff like, but if you come to class and you listen to the videos and you understand, I might put right transverse perfect pelvic girdle rotators. When I'm telling you those things don't exist, like I'm telling you, we have to bring it back to trunk or hips. Okay, I'm not saying I would do that, but I can't. So right or left transverse trunk rotators, go, give it some thought, figure it out, try to prove it, try to see it. Front screen is so bad. It's so bad. What's that? Oh, Ken. Sorry, dude. Toy Story 5.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Hollywood's struggling at reading her little stuff and things. Keeps like going.
Be great. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be such a virtual tour. All right, guys. So I say a cheat code, but I just want us to be able to imagine the first slide I put up with those obliques. I would think I would need muscles that are pulling like her legs, which attach to her pelvis, like towards her right shoulder. Does that make sense? Like gravity's trying to make it go to her left, so I need muscles that are pulling it back to her right. So it's weird. I would need muscles that run like this. But instead of pulling her right shoulder to her left hip, they're pulling her left hip to her right shoulder. Now, we're going to do it in our traditional way. Gravity is trying to do what to her trunk? I'm looking at landmarks. I'm looking at sternum and hips. Gravity is trying to make her look more to her right hip. Gravity is trying to twist her trunk to her right. Do we agree? Do we see it? If gravity's trying to twist her trunk to the right, she doesn't need muscles that are also trying to twist her trunk to the right. She needs muscles that are pulling back to the left. Looky. That's exactly who we need. But instead of the traditional sense of like in the first exercise, here, what's happening is this is fixed and I'm pulling there. It's the same muscles. Are we good with this isometric example? All right, let's do some dynamic stuff. We're going to start out easy a lot of these. I think you'll be it's easy. Just don't freak out. See where she is. Okay. I need to give you some insight. They actually have a machine similar in the weight room. So if you wanted to go test it out, you can. So let's talk about this machine. This machine keeps your upper extremity fixed and allows you to move your pelvis, just like your chair, but with resistance. Just like your swivel chair. Just like the chair that you're sitting in. Your upper extremity is fixed and the pelvis is allowed to move. Do we understand? Her upper extremity, that top part is welded. If she moved the top part, she would be from Krypton. Top part's fixed. She's starting here. Those machines, you can adjust it. You could choose to start wherever you want. It's part of us learning, like, how can I work these specific muscles in this machine? So she's starting here. I know that that's a starting position where the machine isn't trying to do anything to her because, she's just sitting into it. Just like you get into a machine, most machines, they're not trying to do anything. I know that because I can see those plates are all touching. If she would have been at the end of her range of motion, those plates would have been separated. Does that make logical sense? Like the plates are all together, so I know she just sat down and she's about to move against the resistance. So that tells me that the machine will always be trying to bring her back to that original start. In other words, when she starts moving, if she relaxed, wow, it'll bring her back where she started. So in other words, because there's no external force trying to move her here, we need to assign motion. Not a motion, like a motion. So that we can have a variable. We didn't. So the motion that you're going to observe from here is right transverse pelvic river rotation. I need you to be able to figure out all the rest when it comes to trunk muscles. Does everybody understand what I'm asking? From here, you observe right transverse pelvic river rotation. Her upper extremity is fixed, her pelvis is moving. The machine is trying to bring her back to that position. I need you to be able to tell me what muscles were working and how they were working when she starts here and you observe right transverse pelvic rotation from this position. Go. Right here, we're going to have this motion of the pelvis. You need to be able to cross-engineer and say, okay, well, what would that be for the trunk? And then once the movement happens, then you could play with what's the external force trying to do once I start moving it. And then all the things should line up for you to be able to give me contraction. Does anybody not understand why this isn't a hip exercise? Like her hips stay in the same position. Like if her hips move, she have to do this or that or this. Right? Her hips are staying in the same position. Her hips are just being used to help move her pelvis on the padding. Her hips don't move. They move globally, but they don't move locally. Once you've had your answer, if you feel confident, share it with the neighbor. See what they have. See if they have the same thing as you. If they do, cool. If not, cool. Oh yeah, your swivel chair is a great helpers. And if you swivel chair, just repeat. That doesn't mean that nobody sees it. You know, parts of it, very ball motion. That's how I'm designed to demonstrate my you must have swivel chairs.
I just respect, since you started with drone rotation stuff, like way back, but it's really something, so.
It's great. Because if we're standing, then we're going to be using our hips, right? So if you don't sit and set the swivel chair really helps. It's really great. Fred, did you run the swivel chair? Yes. Keep swiveling. That may, if you typically take your class on a blue back chair, like you may want to take that into consideration, like for this test, you may want to sit specifically at chair that's what you want to. All right, guys, here we go. Once she starts having right transverse pelvic girdle rotation, the machine is trying to left transverse pelvic girdle rotate her, but I need to bring it back to trunk. Okay, so when she has right transverse pelvic, that's left transverse trunk because she's twisted to her right to start. She's already twisted to her right. So from how I taught you to see motion, change in position, how would she go from being twisted to the right to eventually an anatomical, and then eventually to be twisted to the left? She has to have left transverse trunk rotation. And gravity is not trying to make that happen. Gravity is trying to twist you back to the right. So I don't need muscles that would be trying to twist me back to the right. I need muscles that are trying to twist me to the left. Left transverse trunk rotation. Pullers, we call them left transverse trunk rotator. In biomechanics, I'm going to teach you about the right external and the left internal. They pull them this way. Traditionally, forget about the camera. Traditionally, they're doing this, but in this example, they're doing this. Traditionally, they're trying to bring right shoulder to left hip, but if this part is fixed and can't move because it's welded, those muscles are going to bring left hip to right shoulder. Does that make sense? All right. Who wouldn't mind being a ball? You don't even have to stand up, but you have to let me provide an external force. Who wouldn't mind being a volunteer where I provide an external force to show you how you have to use those muscles? Anybody feel it? Okay, let's get, because I want people to see. Let's do it here. Okay, right here. Everybody's doing pure pressure. I want to make sure that shares with us. Yay! Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to provide like anatomical and then hold on to the top. So your upper is fixed, correct? Okay. Feet off the ground. Okay, if you can't see, watch. I'm going to provide the same extra. Don't let me pull you. Don't let me pull you. You have to be muscles that pull that way. Like that's cool. One more time. Don't let me pull you. Don't let me pull you. I'm trying to twist your pelvis to the left, but your trunk to the right. So you need muscles that are trying to pull your pelvis to the right. Trunk to you. One more time. You're using muscles that are trying to pull your left hip to your right. Yeah. That's all we're doing. It's cap and bottle, but with rotation muscles. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to choose. You saw what we did there, and that really the light went off. So if you want to take a couple minutes to do this lab experiment with your neighbor or with yourself, just provide an external force to maybe feel how I need trunk muscles that would be pulling back the other way. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, or if you have questions, see clarifications, raise it, I'll be happy to. We'll go in for examples. Let's use some logic. True or false? She's twisted to her right. In that picture. True. Sure. Well, I'll just say to you, do we see how her right, her spine is looking at her right hip? So she's twisted to her right. There's only one way to go. Go. If she's twisted to her right, is to do this, which isn't allowed, or to do this, which is allowed. Either way, she had left transverse trunk rotation. Are we there? If nothing's trying to make her trunk twist to the left, she has to make her trunk twist to the left. And the way she can make her trunk twist to the left is to use muscles like this, or those same muscles. Same muscle. So if she has to make left transverse trunk rotation happen concentrically, it has to be her left transverse trunk rotation muscles.
That's I was trying to just figure out how this concentrated, but.
Oh, so
Because I remember.
you're good. So I think there's a little nuance, and I'll let Grace do her critique. I think there's a little nuance. When there is no external force at the start, then we have to start with motion. You gotta start with something, right? So if there's no external force, then let's start with motion. And then once we start with motion, then we can say, well, what was the external force trying to do during that motion? So we can get to external force, but we may have to start with motion if the external force in this machine isn't trying to do anything at the start. So in this case, I'm going to start with, I had left transverse trunk rotation, but the machine was trying to twist me to the right. So I have to use left transverse trunk rotation. Are we better?
Yeah.
Ladies? Better?
I'm still getting there. Yeah. Just kind of staring at it. But that's worse.
Do you mind doing our experience, or is that kind of, because then in fact, if you feel like, oh, it's the same muscle. So what we'll do is this one. So here, and space in so what you can do, let's see, is to put your arms down, arms out of space. Push your feet somebody here. This is a little different than what we did, because I'm going to do the cap in the lock. Push against me this way. Push against me this way. Okay? You're using muscles that want to pull you to the left. Push against me. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is now pull your, fix your upper body. Okay? Now, don't let me push you. Don't let me push you. It's the same muscles. It's the same muscles. The same muscles that are trying to pull your hands to your left are trying to pull your pelvis to the right.
I do get it. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. It's on here, and there's like this transition from all in order. So this is where it gets dangerous. This is like the Austin exams. Keep Austin weird. Yeah.
There is a lot. There's no trying to burn it. It's so weird, and there was always it's because it's their transition.
Well, the best, my answer to that, not that you're wrong, would be because the lead is the help starts in the season. So the target things. More on the scenes 2025. You have these players. So if I say, my wrist flexors, those can be the same muscles. Elbow flexors, two muscles. Elbow extensors, same muscles. I know that I can internally and posteriorly rotate my pelvis because of my hip muscles. Right? So interior and posteriorly rotate my pelvis because of my trunk muscles. It's possible. So you can't say tears because spines extra.
Yes, that's our.
It's not consistent. So we have to bring the muscles back to the teams that are consistent. And that's wrong. Because pelvic rotators can be hip sometimes, and they can be trunk sometimes. It could be the right hip, it could be the left, it could be the trunk. So we have to bring muscles back It's no different than what we brought the motion back. Like, yeah, the pelvis moved, but what moves it? We all, in our second example, we always brought it back to the pelvis rotated because of what? The hip, the trunk. All we're doing is taking that same concept and saying the pelvis moved because of which.
That's in here.
Great question.
It's like slowly here from like,
It's just like improvement in days. So I'm stressed. I mean, obviously, you can exponentially improve maybe better than because that's your skill. But it's so different where you're like, wow, I look back 5 years ago, man, I'm doing things I would have never dreamed I was doing. It's no different. And guys, that's why practice is so important. They have one of these machines in the weight room. Go play around with it. All right, let's get to our exciting. All right. Do not pay attention to the shoulders.
Yes.
We are only analyzing the pelvic girdle. Game on. Let's say we start at the top. We should be able to identify muscles isometrically, right? If he just holds this position. Then he's going to go with the legs like pouring water on the left side, so the legs pouring water on the right side. So we need to go from here, pass through, and then tip over to the right. So I'd like us to break it down to top picture. This might help. Top picture. To middles parallel, to legs parallel. And then legs parallel is like B. So the top picture is A. Legs parallel is B. That's one question. What brought my legs parallel with gravity? That's one question. Then from B, let's go to the bottom picture, which we're going to call C. And I'd like you to tell me which muscles did B to C. And then we're going to come back up. C to B, and then B to A. We're going to do a full range of motion.
And did you want to do your background?
Oh yeah. So what I'll do is I'll try to watch, guys. While y'all think about it, I'm going to clarify on the work, and I'm going to go and do this. So, top picture is A. Once he think it's like windshield wipers, right? Going back and forth. From the top position, he's going to have to bring his legs eventually parallel with gravity. That's picture B. We got to visualize that one. And then from B, he's going to go to C, which is the bottom picture. So A to B, B to C, C to B, and then B to A.
So start.
Agonist and contractions. Game on. The answer is, what is that? Very difficult. Oh no, hanging from a bar.
So you like it's like that. He said,
Yeah, well, he's
oh, or he's
yeah. I'm not gonna do it, but he's hanging from the bar and doing this.
like that. Like about
Yeah, his legs are positioned to the left.
yes.
But in order to go from being positioned to the left to the right, you got to pass through the
Yeah.
middle, right? So it's like halfway. So it's here to there. That's A to B, B to C, C to B, B, and then we're back to where we stuck.
Like you're
Yay. Okay, so I added the A and the B. So we're just doing a full range of motion. A, Campbell. Silly goose. Let's see, right? Yeah. No, gotta go back. Okay, so letters are added. So we're gonna go from A to C, but we gotta pass through B. So A to B, B to C, C back to B, and then B back to A.
Sometimes you use the flex, which I don't think the performance rates and so I have. So the one that teaches so much months about it. But it's relations in the plans, then you get rich. So you're buying since you're so growing function. Stages like.
Guys, I'm gonna give you 2 more minutes to think about it. I'm gonna make sure you leave here with answers. However, I want you to take those answers, go home, study, try to make sense of it. Utilize Grace, utilize me if you need, and then on Friday, we'll delve more into trying to, explain it and everything. So don't stress. But we should be feeling a little better. This is tough, guys. This is not easy. These are the kind of things you're going to be teaching your peers in grad school. Why not work on them now? Question, same muscles or different muscles from A to B compared to B to C? It's a big step. If you can at least see that I'm going to have different muscles, that's huge. Because without that training, you may say, well, wait, the motion's the same. If gravity's trying to do different things. That would be like saying this, guys. If I'm pouring water out the left side of the bucket and water's pouring out the left, and I did this, that was only one motion. And now water's just outside.
So then, those are going to go over the motions.
Would it help if we tabled it and then we just talked about it on Friday, or do you want to answer it subsequently to have, you can go to sleep tonight, kids? Alright.
How many?
I want to preface, guys. I've been doing this a long time, and my brain is wired. I told you before, I didn't finish in the top 10 of my class, and it was a small class. Like by default, you typically finish in the top 10 of my little class. My brain was not meant for 99.99% of things on this earth, but it was meant for this stuff. And I still can't see this right away. I can't. If somebody comes to my office and says, "Can you explain this to me?" I'm like, "Let's walk it through together," because I don't know. This is not like doing curls, okay? But we all have the process to be able to figure this out. Gravity is trying to twist his trunk more to his right. If gravity is trying to twist his trunk to his right, I don't need muscles that are trying to twist my trunk to the right. I would need muscles that are trying to twist my trunk to my left. That's weird for us to see because it's easier for us to see this. It's harder for us to see this. But they are the same muscles. Gravity is trying to twist me to the right. I don't need right pullers. I need left pullers. I call those left transverse trunk rotators. They're going to cause the left transverse trunk rotation. That may be where one of your blocks is. The fact that when I bring my legs up, I'm having left transverse trunk rotation. Because that's the only way to explain how do I go from being twisted to my right to being in anatomic position. I had to twist my trunk to the left, whether it's traditionally or not traditionally. So in other words, I start here. I'm going to have left transverse by doing this, or I'm going to have left transverse by doing this. That's what we're getting at. I'm twisted to my right. Left transverse is going to line my sternum with my pelvis. It could look like this, or it could look like this. It's the same motion. Locally. Okay? So left transverse trunk rotators, concentric. When I continue and I tip my feet down to that position, well, now gravity's not trying to do the same thing to me. When I tip my legs here, now gravity is actually trying to twist me to my left. So I need to turn off the left transverse trunk rotators and turn on the right transverse trunk rotators. And the right transverse trunk rotators are going to allow left transverse trunk rotation eccentrically. Good. It's no different than the hammer example. Pronators, 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 supinators, 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 pronator, 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 pronators, making me come up, letting me go down. Making me come up, letting me go down. Does that make sense? So this exercise would work different muscles in different quadrants because gravity is trying to do two different things to me in two different parts. Practice. It'll get easier and it'll get better, right? All right, guys, y'all have a good one.